we had a few surprises in drama lead actress. Last year's winner snubbed Morel Enos from The Killing, surprising people there. And last I read, she's got it down to 2 tapes, the pilot or Missing. I feel her choice there will decide whether she's in this race or not.
Well, I heard her in an interview back just a couple of weeks ago, and she actually said she didn't think Missing was eligible since it aired in June. Well, let's tell Murray right here and the folks at AMC, that's a hanging episode based on the rules that were established 3 or 4 years ago, and that is eligible. So if you want to contend, that's the one to submit, and you would actually have a shot at winning there, especially with Kira Sedgwick gone. Now, it's going to be I think it's probably mostly a tight race between Elizabeth Moss and Juliana Margulies, but there's some really good women in that category.
This category, I think, is now looking more competitive than perhaps we would have thought before the nomination announcement, because we've got Moss and Margulies, obviously. We've got Enos, which if she is just happy with the nomination, should submit the pilot. If she actually wants to win the Emmy, she should submit Missing. And if she submits that, she's in the race. And then you've got Kathy Bates in a David E. Kelly legal show, where she's got quite a few takes where she gives these big speeches and stuff. So I think this award could go any number of ways.
Yeah, I was not even thinking about the David E. Kelly. I mean, I don't remember the exact number. We did an article last year about, he has written, he writes almost all of his own episodes or co-writes them. He has personally written Emmy-winning acting episodes for 31 or 32 different people.
Yeah.
Is that not amazing? In lead, supporting, and guest, 31 or 32 different people. So Kathy Bates is certainly not out of this. Now, she's been nominated, it's either 9 or 10 times, somewhere in that range for Emmys, and never won, but she is an Oscar winner. So, definitely look out for her. That wouldn't be a huge surprise if she won that. We need to definitely get an episode title from her folks and see, take a look at it and see how it matches up against the others.
She's got some stuff that will play very well to some Emmy panels we've seen in the past. She's got some I think a lot of people on the forums will hate it, but I think depending on the types of voters she's got, she does have stuff there.
Some other notes, just randomly. Walking Dead is pretty dead. It didn't hardly get anything. I think, let me look at my fact sheet here, but it only got a handful of nominations. 3. You would have thought at least it would have cleaned up in the technical categories, and maybe Frank Darabont, who's another Oscar-nominated writer-director, would have maybe gotten in, but nothing really there for Walking Dead. Maybe it was just too long ago, or the subject matter. I continually kept moving some of the Walking Dead stuff down my predictions, so it's not a big shock. January Jones, Mad Men. Look, folks, if you're an actor or an actress, you've got to drop your ego sometimes, and that's what we're talking about on Murray Enos here a moment ago. Yeah, you may be thinking you want to submit the pilot, but that's not your best choice. January Jones, you hardly had any screen time this year. You should have moved to supporting actress. You probably would have gotten nominated. There was no way the voters were going to nominate you for lead actress again. So that's just a mistake. You've got to, and her reps have got to be able to stand up, or anybody's reps, stand up and say when somebody's making a mistake like that. Drama lead actor, interesting, Jeremy Irons. I didn't have him in my predictions, but there's an Oscar winner there. He might have slipped in. Of course, you already talked about William H. Macy. Tom Selleck, a past Emmy winner. Gabriel Byrne, who's been nominated a couple of times for the treatment role, doesn't make it in. Jeremy Irons also left off the SVU guest actor. I thought for sure he would get in for that. Along with, we talked about some legendary kind of people. Bob Newhart and Hal Holbrook. Hal Holbrook doesn't even make it in for Sons of Anarchy. That's how much they didn't like that show.
And
Amy Ryan, you interviewed Amy Ryan a few weeks ago. Yes. She doesn't get in for either performance.
Amy, very big shame.
I think you talked about no Leah Michelle or Matthew Morrison for Glee. So that show, like we all talked about back during even in the middle of the season, we said, look, kind of like a Desperate Housewives situation. Watch
Yeah.
for it to start plummeting in, Emmy nominations. No upstairs, downstairs in movie category, which, it won a ton of them back in the 70s, so that's a little surprising.
That one drama series and miniseries.
That's right. They never knew where to put that.
Yeah.
And here's one that just kind of breaks my heart every year, but what does Harry Shearer on The Simpsons have to do to get a nomination and a win? He is not nominated again, and he's the only regular cast member of The Simpsons to never win an Emmy. So that's just awful.
Brian228 says, in January Jones' defense, she might not have a clue how this works.
Most actors and actresses don't, but people do.
Yeah, and Stigmata09 replies, so it's like Lost, Brian. So there's some good stuff in the chat room going on.
Well, the Mad Men producers, the AMC people, even her own reps, they all know how this works. If one of them could have gotten a hold of her, and I'm not even saying, with her screen time this year, I'm not even saying she deserved a supporting actress nomination, but she probably would have gotten it.
Yeah, no, definitely. And with the drama series, what do you think is the show in the best position to take away Mad Men's crown? It's won the past 3 years in a row. Can Mad Men do the Hill Street Blues, West Wing, and win 4 in a row, or can something? And the people in the chat room might want to type their responses to this. Chris is answering.
It looks to me like, and I'm looking over at the actual list here just to make sure.
Yeah.
Boardwalk Empire with 18 and Mad Men with 19. I mean, that seems like the matchup. Dexter has no writing or directing nominations. Friday Night Lights does. Game of Thrones does. That could be a contender. Rob was talking earlier about The Good Wife, and surprisingly, not only did they maybe not have the best submissions this year across the board on their 6 episodes, but they have no writing and directing nominations, so that doesn't help either. So I would say probably Boardwalk Empire has a better shot than any of us dreamed a few weeks ago, and it is coming off Golden Globe and SAG Award wins. So it's going to be an interesting battle there. You look at Mad Men and you say, well, it's slipping just a little. It didn't get any directing and it only got 2 writing. But then you look at Boardwalk and you say, well, shouldn't it have gotten at least a couple of its supporting actors in? It had a whole lot of supporting actors, and maybe that hurt it. But Martin Scorsese should win his category pretty easily, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, I would think so. I would think so. I think Martin Scorsese.
If you don't mind, I was going to mention on Variety Special. We talked about that earlier, some writing, but just because you haven't talked about it at all.
Yeah. No,
Bette Midler's special is in. Carrie Fisher's HBO special. Kennedy Center Honors, which often wins this category.
One last year.
The Lady Gaga special on HBO. And Pee Wee Herman's Broadway special, who we interviewed him. And he got in there. So 4 HBO specials and the Kennedy Center Honors. So that's an interesting group right there.
Yeah.
Another category I wanted to mention. Some of these I just enjoy, and other people I don't know if they do or not. But one of the things I wanted to bring up on the music category. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 nominees on original music and lyrics. Family Guy's North Pole song.
Yeah.
A Robert Klein song from his HBO special. And then 4 songs from Saturday Night Live.
Okay.
3 of them written by Andy Samberg and his partners. The Jeff Bridges song from that episode. And then the Jack Sparrow song from Tina Fey. I believe that was the one with Michael Bolton. The video that they did. And then the song that they did on the Justin Timberlake episode. So Justin Timberlake's nominated there. And then on the also on the same Justin Timberlake, the opening monologue song that he had. So Justin's got 2 more nominations, and Andy Samberg's got 3 more. And kind of interesting there. You know, Glee had a whole episode this year where they had original songs, not just covers that they were doing, and they got no songs in.
Yeah, it's looking like that definitely Glee does not have as much support as perhaps the fans would have hoped.
Well, it was always going to have a difficult journey at the Emmys. We did a little story about a week or so ago. I don't remember exactly when, but hour-long shows have not done well in the comedy series, the comedy series category itself. The only one ever to win, or at least in the last 30 or 40 years, was Ally McBeal, and that again, that was a big reason why. Desperate Housewives couldn't win. Ugly Betty couldn't win. Glee hasn't won so far, so
they've done well. Yeah, and some of those other shows you mentioned weren't even able to get a second nomination for drama series, for comedy series. Sorry, Freudian slip there. And so I think Glee has done well considering some of those dramedies that have been.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And Jane Lynch could win again this year. Chris Colfer could win. It's certainly, I believe, is in several of the. Let me look overall, but it's in several of the technical categories. It's always going to do well in technical categories.
Yeah.
Let me just see how many nominations. Well, we got 12 this year. That is nothing to sneeze at.
No, not at all.
That probably makes it the third overall comedy series this year with nominations.
Mm-hmm.
I have nothing against Glee. I watch it every week. It's a good show. Some shows just don't fit the Emmy pattern very well.
Yeah. This does not line up with Emmy demographics very well, this show, I would imagine.
Well, it appeals to a younger viewer, and that's why Fox loves it. It gets tons of downloads on iTunes and all those kinds of things, and so I mean it's perfect for the Fox network actually.
Yeah, no, definitely. Just the question we asked earlier to the chat room of which drama series they thought was the biggest threat. There are a lot of Friday Night Lights and a couple of Boardwalk Empires.
Right.
What do you think about Friday Night Lights?
Friday Night Lights could win it. I mean, I'm not saying it can't, but people often on our website and in our forums especially vote with their heart and are rather than, I mean, I just look at Emmy history and I look at those kinds of things. I've got favorites, obviously, and I would love to see, say, a Steve Carell win this year or an Amy Poehler or there's quite a few that I'll be pulling for, but that doesn't mean when I sit down and watch all the episodes that I'm going to predict them because I don't know what I'm going to predict until I watch the episodes.